Hey everybody, welcome back. Glad to have you guys with us. Today we're going to be doing a video that a few of you have been waiting for. I'm finally breaking down and doing the hanging long arm cast. I'd like to get into some specifics before we do the hands-on, just real quick, just to get the talking out of the way. You have seen in the previous videos we've done a Sarmiento brace or a humeral fracture brace. If you haven't seen that video, you can go back a few videos to see that. Also, we've done, with regards to a humerus fracture, we've done a coaptation splint or coap splint video as well. Those are two videos that also pertain to what we're doing today with the hanging long arm cast. Specifically, the hanging long arm cast is ordered by the MD, the surgeon, when they suspect a proximal humerus fracture above mid shaft, of course, and just distal to the actual humeral head. Sometimes it can involve the neck of the humerus, in which case we were ordered to do the hanging long arm cast. The thing about the hanging long arm cast, and you'll see this whether you're watching one of my videos or you're scrolling through YouTube or Google or whatever search engine you use, there are some things we have to clear up about the hanging long arm cast. The first things first, when you're doing a hanging long arm cast, you can go ahead and bend, it's okay. When you're doing a hanging long arm cast, if the fracture is in this vicinity, we all know, those of us that make cast, once you get to the axillary space, and even if you come up with a slant, if the fracture is up in this area, there is literally no way to go above the fracture. And in some situations, you can't even come up to the point of the fracture. And more importantly, of the three things, if you put the edge of your cast at the same exact location of the fracture, and they happen to slip and fall, you could literally make that fracture way worse, way worse. So when it comes to the hanging long arm cast, let's clear one thing up real quick. If the top or most proximal edge of the cast is below the fracture site, that is okay. And we're going to talk about the details of that as we're making the cast. But there is a reason for that, and I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit later on in the video. Also, too, when you're making the hanging long arm cast, depending on where you're watching your videos or where you're located, whether it's the US or the UK or somewhere else, there are different versions of the hanging long arm cast. There's a version that goes like a cylinder from here to here. There's an even shorter version of it I've seen in some overseas videos, and there are of course the ones that we do here in the US that go all the way to the metacarpals and allows the fingers to be free. So we will get into the details of those specifics. Remember too, when you're making a hanging long arm cast, that you want to keep them at a nice right angle the entire time of the cast, the entire life of the cast. And we're going to talk about how you can accomplish that so that you don't lose what we call the quote unquote the fulcrum. When you do a hanging long arm cast, just as important as securing the arm is you want to have an even distribution of weight at the base of the cast. And that is because we are going to use gravity to bring down where the fracture is. We are going to use gravity as our natural traction to bring this thing as close to or back to alignment as possible over the course of days and weeks. And we're going to do that with the weight of the cast as much as we are the direction of the cast. Okay, you guys, now I know you guys have seen multiple videos in this library. So as we've done in the last 5-10 videos or so that involve wrapping a cast, we are going to skip, fast forward, freeze frame through the whole wrapping process of the stockinette and the cotton. And when we get to one specific spot that I want to focus on with you guys, it's different than the other videos, we'll go ahead and slow it down to normal pace.
I'll just stick to the same angle.
So as you can see, basic long arm padding with the extra bumpers on the edge and around the thumb. This part is relatively important, so we're going back to regular framing here. When the MD has ordered a hanging long arm cast, there are two things they want. They would like for their arm, when they're standing, to be resting in a right angle, and they want some weight to the cast. So when they want weight to the cast, rather than make this ridiculously big, heavy cast, what you can do is you can take a couple of strips of extra cotton just to have a little bit extra padding on the bottom of the arm here, a couple little strips like so. Go ahead and hold that if you don't mind with your hand on the bottom here. There you go. And then what some people will do is they will get some plaster. They will put a couple of strips of plaster, and also sometimes they'll bring it up to the elbow as well, just to create extra weight. And what you've done by creating those couple of extra strips, so here's the cotton, and let's say, for demonstration's sake, actually I'll just grab one real quick. You'll get some plaster, which you'll wet, of course. You'll measure it out. So about so much. I'll cut about 3 or 4 strips of this. And I'm gonna put this right over here. So what you've done is you've taken anywhere from 4 to 6 strips of plaster, you wet it, and then you create a bottom posterior spine, or a weight, if you will. And what that's going to do is they're resting in a standing or sitting position, and we'll talk about how their arm's going to be supported at the top in a few minutes. But this will add weight to the bottom without you having to put a lot of layers and make it this big, ridiculous, bulky cast. This is one way to create weight, evenly distributed weight. You can do this also with the fiberglass. We're going to make this cast out of fiberglass, but if you're so ordered to by the MD, you can make the exact same cast out of plaster. So we're going to pause there, and I'm going to show you something about the support on the top. Okay, so if you're making the cast out of plaster, what you can do is you can take some plaster, just like so, and you can fold it over. And what I want you to do is I want you to make a loop, just right here, just like so, which you're going to secure with cotton, and eventually you're going to secure it with more cast material. You need to have a loop here, and I'm going to show you a couple different tricks on how to accomplish this loop, because what we want is we want the patient to be wearing a sling that goes around the neck, a strap rather, that acts like a sling. Whether that strap is fabric with Velcro ends, or whether it's a long piece of stockinette and you tie a knot in it, what you're going to want is you're going to want them to have a sling that is here all the way around the neck and back to here. And the reason you're going to want that, rather than a regular a sling that's a bag style sling, is because you want, again, back to what we talked about in the beginning of the video, you want gravity to pull evenly. You want it to pull evenly. Go ahead and stand for a sec. Go ahead and stand. And just stand normal. There you go. Dead weight, there you go. What you want is, as she's standing, you want gravity to pull from this point and from this point evenly. If you don't have a sling here that goes around the neck and goes through a loophole, what's going to happen is, if I may, over time, as she's going through her day, gravity's going to pull, and gravity's going to pull, and gravity's going to pull. And you see what it's doing, because it's pulling at the most distal point of the fulcrum, because this is the point that has the least amount of support. And as it's pulling this way, up here where our fracture is, now our fracture is doing this. And then we're not giving her proper medical care. But if you have it evenly supported, we get the fracture line back up. Same thing's true if you don't have her in a right angle. Say you have her greater than a 90, say you have her at 100 or 110, you're doing the exact same thing, you're sending it the other way. So again, we want to try to get it as perpendicular as possible using the tools we have with us. So when you do that loop, if you're doing it out of plaster, there are other tricks you can do. You can use the inside cardboard of a roll, like so, and I'll show you how to secure that down in just a moment. I've even seen in some videos where people made something to this effect and secured it with the fiberglass or the plaster. Again, another idea. There's different variations, but the whole idea is to create that loop, so that they have something to hold that strap that's going to keep them completely horizontal and even pull on gravity. Okay, so what we've done, we've decided to go with this particular device to create our loop. I've attached just a small little strip of tape on there just to benefit us during the video. If I had a second set of hands, I wouldn't need to do that. But what you see me doing is you see me attaching it with the tape to hold it in position, just distal to the radial head. Excuse me, just proximal to the distal radial head, excuse me. Take your first roll of fiberglass, which I've already wet. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna start like you would start any normal cast. Some people start with a fold. So we'll do the fold here. So you can do the fold in between the finger and the thumb. And of course, as you've seen in other videos, some people start with a cut. And I'll do that one for you as well. So you can see the two that are the most common in our field. Do a little cut. Fold it in. Fold it out. So again, the two most common ones. Now here's where it gets a little bit different than the videos you've seen before. When you come in here, let me fix that. Come in here, you're going to have to kind of do some custom work as you're coming around to your loop. Just like this. You're coming around just like this. And you're going to start anchoring down that tape for starters. So now that we have the tape anchored, we can work our way through. Now I'm going to actually stop in just a second. Of course, normally we would continue up the arm, but I want to show you something since I have you here all watching. Another trick I just want to show you real quick, and it's a really, really cool trick. You just take a strip of this, say, you know, however long you want to make it. And it's just a way to reinforce your cast so that you have a higher success rate. You take that little strip you just cut, fold it in half, and do the exact same thing you did with the tape. Just like so. That's going to give you a great success rate. So even if this little piece, this little cardboard or little whatever circular little ring gets destroyed, if it's a pediatric, or say for example it gets damaged or even comes out, you still have your fiberglass loop that you just created around that base, just like so. And then you just work your way on all the way down. And then once we've done that, we'll just go ahead and move on to what we've always done with all the other casts. We'll go ahead and start fast forwarding through this whole process, and then we'll get back to the details of that in just a moment. So now that the cast is set up, we can get into some specifics. As you can see, your right angle. Now, remember back to what we said at the very beginning, even if the fracture is above the proximal cast line, that is okay. The idea is to bring this dead weight and let gravity pull from this entire base, not from here and not from here, but from the entire base to pull evenly, and that will hopefully bring better alignment to where the fracture is, whether it's here, 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 here. And like I said earlier, you're gonna see some hanging long arm casts that don't even involve this. They're only like from here to here. And that's okay, that's acceptable if that's what the MD has ordered. This particular one, this is what we've chosen to do. Here's the little ringlet that I made. And again, it's remarkably stable. I'll show you real quick here. I mean, it is super stable. Nothing's gonna happen to it. In a perfect world, you would have one of these hanging long arm straps, which is just a regular padded strap with little Velcro clasps, and it has a little neck pad as well. In a perfect world, if you didn't have this available to you in your stock and your supply, you could do something just as easily with a stockinette. You could take this off, and you could take just your regular 3-inch, 4-inch, or whatever stockinette, do a little twist in it, run it right through the exact same eye hole there, and you would do the same thing. You'd run it around the back, make your square knot or your favorite knot, whatever you're going to make. And then what you would do, particularly if you're working with children, you would tuck that knot into that little ringlet there so nobody's messing with it. Tuck it in there, nice and tucked away out of sight, just like so. Dead weight for me. There you go. I'm going to fix this for you a little bit. There you go, dead weight. Now, I would bring that a little bit tighter. I do not like it hanging like that, so I would bring the knot up a little bit tighter knot so her arm's straight across her belly and it's looking like the letter L. So again, that's something else you could do in place of the strap, the hanging long arm strap. So there you go. So I hope this is satisfactory to all the viewers that are watching. Again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. As always, thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for subscribing and joining. And for those of you that are sharing the videos on your channels, I am extremely grateful for that. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.